Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing when does an ex reach out? I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing when does an ex reach out? So if you've gone through a breakup, one of the questions which will likely cross your mind is when does an ex reach out? Now, whether or not you want to hear from your ex right now, whether or not you want to get your ex back right now, this is irrelevant. You will still likely be wondering if and when your ex is likely to reach out to you. In today's podcast, I'm going to be discussing 3 points to consider when we answer the question, when does an ex reach out? So let's get straight into this. And point number 1 is desperation. So at first, we're going to be speaking from the perspective of the dumpee. When is a dumpee likely to reach out to their dumper? Now, if you are a dumpee, this will be something very useful for you to listen to help you understand your unconscious mind. If you're wondering to yourself, what is the likelihood of when your ex, the dumper, may reach out to you, then please keep listening. I will be getting into this later in today's podcast. But for now, we are talking about desperation. We are talking about from a dumpee's perspective about why they might reach out to their ex, the dumper. And this is desperation, and this is because a dumpee will be going through feelings which is almost a combination similar to grief and drug withdrawal. The shock of a breakup, the feeling of not understanding why this has happened, can lead many dumpees into a manic frame of mind. Desperation is the main reason as to why a dumpee will reach out to their dumper, and unfortunately, as most dumpees find out, this is unlikely to help. Now, there is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back. Nothing works 100% of the time, and nothing fails 100% of the time. But what I can say is that most dumpees who reach out to their ex don't get their ex back in that instance, and this is for the reason that you can't persuade somebody to grow romantic emotional attraction for you. When two people are in a loving relationship, they are both feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. Now, for various potential reasons, this level of attraction has unfortunately dropped. And when it hit the necessary low point, somebody became the dumper at the end of the relationship because they didn't feel enough romantic emotional attraction. They didn't feel that this relationship was working for them at this time. So because of this, the dumper is not feeling attraction for their dumpee. And you can't persuade somebody to regrow attraction. This has to be something which is organic. It has to happen in the dumper's mind. So as a dumpee, you can't beg, you can't plead, you can't reason with your ex to try to get them back. Okay, there might be that 1 in 100 possibility that it happens. Like I said, nothing fails 100% of the time. But we have to look at what's going to give you the best possible chance. And I would say that 1 in 100 is not good odds. And even if your ex-dumper does take you back after you beg, plead or reason, they will likely have taken you back through pity, due to concern for you, and this is not a true reflection on how they are feeling. Do you really want to reconnect with somebody who isn't feeling enough romantic emotional attraction for you? Unfortunately, this is unlikely to last long term if they are taking you back through pity. So as a dumpee, I strongly suggest you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first, except for a few exceptions to the rule, which I speak about in other podcasts. Please let me know in the YouTube comments whether you are a dumper or a dumpee. Let me know how long it has been since you last spoke to your ex, and really get across your thoughts and your feelings. It can be great to express yourself, and through the comments is a safe way to do this. Much safer than texting your ex, which, as I've just said, you have a very low chance of being able to reconnect with an ex if you're a dumpee and you reach out to them, because you can't grow romantic emotional attraction through begging, pleading or reasoning. So when we answer the question, when does an ex reach out, we do have to look at that first option for the dumpees, which is desperation. This is why a dumpee will reach out to their ex. They probably know most of the time this isn't likely to help, but they feel compelled to do it because of a feeling similar to grief combined with drug withdrawal. It's very, very challenging to be able to resist that temptation to try and sort things out. You think, if I just speak to my ex, I'll sort this. If I just speak to my ex, we can smooth this over. Unfortunately, unless they have regrown enough attraction, this is unlikely to be the case. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about when does an ex reach out. And point number 2 is necessary reason. So for some dumpees, but especially dumpers, one of the reasons as for why an ex will reach out is for a necessary reason. Now, if you are a dumpee, as I've just said, I strongly suggest you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. However, there are exceptions to the rule, and one of those exceptions is a necessary reason. So if you're a dumpee and you're thinking, well, I've left my work equipment at my ex's house, you're going to need that work equipment, you're going to need your work clothes, you're going to need your laptop, whatever it may be. Of course, it doesn't just have to relate to work, but if it's something genuinely important, genuinely necessary, then this is when you can reach out, and this is when somebody will reach out. Now, this also works for dumpers reaching out to dumpees, and this is where we really have to consider what type of contact has been received. If and when as a dumpee you receive contact from your ex the dumper, you have to consider, was this contact necessary? And if it was necessary, then unfortunately this is not a sign that they have regrown romantic emotional attraction. You know, if we flip round what we've just spoke about, if your ex the dumper has left items at your house that they need for their work, for instance, and then they reach out to you saying, look, can we meet up? I really need to pick up my laptop. Okay, that is not a sign, that is not a clue that they've regrown attraction, that is necessary. Similarly, if you have letters of importance, maybe bills, that type of thing at each other's houses, this is when you are going to need to contact each other. Maybe you're a dumpee and you've received a letter through the post, snail mail as we say, through the post, through the mail, which is your ex's, is the dumpers, and it is necessary that they have this. This is something that you need to reach out to them, because you have to be respectful. You know, it's not going to look good on your behalf if you just decide not to contact them when they have something very important delivered to your house. You know, it could be a tax return or something. In that instance, you've got to reach out. But you have to also consider this works the same for dumpers. So if you're a dumpee and you receive contact from your ex, consider, is it necessary? And if the answer is yes, then although this doesn't mean you can't grow attraction, what it does mean is that it is important you keep things on point. You know, if your ex-dumper is coming round to your house to collect something of importance, don't use this as an opportunity to try to seduce them. It's very unlikely that they're going to appreciate this. They're going to your house because they need something. Okay, they don't want to reconnect. They've not shown any more signs of that. If that has happened, if that is the case, then if you were to try to seduce them, it is not likely to go down well because they're not showing the signs. They've not regrown attraction. They just need their belongings. They need their possessions. And they're entitled to them, just as you are as a dumpee. Now, it's important to say, please don't try and invent something that's necessary to contact your ex. If you're a dumpee and you reach out to your dumper because you say, look, I've left my socks at your house, is that really necessary? Is that really going to help you? If anything, your ex-dumper is probably going to see this as a very desperate and needy attempt to get their attention, and it's unlikely to help you. So please don't make excuses. Please always consider, is this necessary? Shall I contact my ex? And if it's the other way around, if you're a dumpee and you're thinking, my ex-dumper has reached out to me, did they have to do that? Because if they did, unfortunately, it's not a sign right now that they want to reconnect. Although I do suggest that you honour what they're asking. You know, you need to respect them still. If they want to collect their possessions, you need to give them. And you need to behave in a happy, carefree and fun way if and when you meet up. But just keep things on point. Unless you see signs, unless you see clues, I don't suggest trying to seduce your ex in a situation where they've shown no interest in you at all other than wanting their possessions back. So look out for that, because necessary contact and necessary reason is one of the main reasons why an ex will reach out. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about when does an ex reach out. And point number 3 is for an unnecessary reason. So if your ex reaches out to you for a non-necessary reason, this could be good or bad depending on your position. If you are the dumper and you receive contact from your ex, the dumpee, for a non-necessary reason, then you're probably thinking, why are you contacting me? Why are you bothering me? I ended the relationship. You aren't respecting me. You're reaching out to me for a reason which isn't necessary. Why are you doing this? If you're a dumpee, I strongly suggest, as I said earlier, don't contact your ex, the dumper, unless it is necessary. Okay, so if you're a dumpee, don't reach out for an unnecessary reason. However, if you are the dumpee and you receive contact from your dumper for an unnecessary reason, this is very interesting indeed, because this shows a level of intrigue. This shows romantic emotional attraction has grown in your ex, the dumper's mind. Somebody does not reach out for no reason, there must be a special reason in their minds. If it's a non-necessary reason, if it's unnecessary, then this means the actual reason is because they miss you. Now, whether or not they miss you enough to want to reconnect romantically, that remains to be seen, and you will discover this through the communication stage. However, if your ex reaches out to you for a reason that isn't necessary, then the reason they've done it is because they're thinking about you and they miss you. If your dumper reaches out to you and says, oh, have I left my socks at your house? When as a dumpee, you can think, do they really need their socks? Have they even left their socks? Is this just a reason to try and connect with me? We like to call this the indirect direct approach. It's indirect because they're not actually getting to the true reason. The true reason is, I miss you. Okay, they're unlikely to actually say that. However, it's direct because it is a direct message. So if your ex, the dumper, contacts you and you consider what they've sent and you think, no, this is unnecessary, then that is an indirect direct approach. It's indirect because they're trying to slip through your monitoring of what this is all about. However, it is directly to you. And this is a good sign if you want to try to get your ex back. Again, we can't guarantee you will. There's still a long way to go. And it might only mean that they want to speak with you on a platonic level. Okay, at this stage, you don't know whether they miss you platonically or if they miss you from a more romantic perspective, but they have grown some romantic emotional attraction to be thinking of you, to miss you, to be thinking of any old reason to reach out to you. So as a dumpee, this is very exciting. Now, it's important to say that both people have a choice of a relationship. We know if you're a dumper and you're listening to this podcast and you think, well, I'm just going to reach out to my ex for dumpee, you have to realise that they might not want to reconnect at this time. We speak in the moment. We live in the moment. Right now, you don't know how your ex is feeling. So if you're a dumper, you need to reach out to your ex ASAP, because if you don't, they will likely find somebody even better. They will grow, they will move forward, and you as a dumper are on a time limit. Okay, you must reach out. You must see how your ex for dumpee is feeling. Now, if you're listening to this as a dumpee, you need to realise that if your ex for dumper contacts you for an unnecessary reason, this enables you to go through the communication stage, and if you navigate this correctly, you stand every chance of one day meeting your ex again and quite possibly growing a new relationship on stronger foundations. However, if you're thinking, well, I'm going to reach out for a non-necessary reason, like I've said earlier on in today's podcast, that's not going to help you. Okay, your ex, the dumper, made the decision. They need to be the one to change their mind. However, the dumpee might have also changed their mind now. So you never know how you're both thinking until you communicate. As a dumpee, it's very unlikely that your ex, the dumper, will contact you and speak in an almost Disney-esque kind of way where they're saying, look, I really miss you. I love you, all Hollywood, as they would get you to believe when you watch the movies. This is unlikely. Okay, it can sometimes happen, but most dumpers will reach out in an indirect way. The key is to look for if it's necessary or if it's unnecessary. And if it's unnecessary, then as a dumpee, you're probably on the road to something very special again, if you still want it, okay? You'll go through the communication stage, you will see, do they miss you platonically or romantically? And if you both align in what you want, this is where you can move forward and reconnect properly. The communication stage is arguably the most challenging stage of them all when you're trying to get your ex back, if that's what you want to do. And that is why lots of people contact me to speak with me one-on-one in my audio coaching service, because I can really help you during this stage and more. It's best to prepare, because if you fail to prepare, then you should prepare to fail. So always make sure you are ready for all eventualities, because you never know. You might hear from your ex tomorrow, next month, or even next year. You never know when the story ends. Although we can't guarantee you'll ever get your ex back, and we certainly can't even guarantee that you'll even hear from them again, what we can say is that if you do hear from them, it might not be days or weeks, it could be months or years. So prepare for all eventualities. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent Bo got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.